stick around because we're about to install all this onto this, and I'm even going to help you save a little money if you want to do the same thing. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. So for the last couple months since we installed the twin turbos on CC here, one thing I've noticed is we need a little bit more breathing space. Currently, the catch can setup we have is one of these little single filter, smaller tubular setups here. And that was fine when we were on nitrous and NA, but it's just not cutting it. Now that we're pushing some boost, we're getting a lot more blow by, and I'm noticing I'm getting a lot more fluids built up in the canister here, and I'm seeing a lot more puffing out this little filter here. Well, it just so happens a few months back, a company, Max Speeding Rods, had actually reached out to me and asked to work with me on this build. Now, unfortunately, I had already bought most of the big parts. I'd already bought the turbos, the intercooler, a lot of the stuff they sell. But what I am in need of right now, currently, is, yeah, you guessed it, a larger catch can, preferably with dual breathers, and well, they just happen to have one. So after getting on their website, link in the description of this video, I happen to find this guy, and this is their dual filter catch can here, dual inlet. And after taking some measurements off their website, making a cardboard copy of this, and seeing where I was going to put it, it seemed like it was going to fit pretty well. So I went ahead and got a hold of them. I had them send me this catch can along with one of their Dash 10 hose kits that comes with, I believe it's 12 feet of Dash 10 hose, and then it comes with two 90s, two straights, and two 45s. So that's pretty much everything you need to install this catch can in a universal application. Now, obviously there will be some application specific parts that we'll go over in a minute when we install this. But for the time being, let's just go over this can a little bit, show you a couple of the features that attracted me to it, and let you know why it's not just a metal box with a couple holes drilled in it. So with a catch can, there's really only three things that I personally am worried about. The first one is capacity, how much oil and water and whatever happens to be coming through here, how much can it hold before I have to drain it. Which in this case, this thing probably has about 3 times, if not 4 times, the volume of the catch can we're currently running. The second thing is its ability to breathe, to let the engine breathe. And that was honestly the biggest reason I upgraded. This guy, with our old can, we were just running little 3/8 lines to the factory ports on the valve covers. This guy has got big Dash 10 lines. It actually uses Dash 10 Orb is the size to screw in here to Dash 10 AN adapters. But we got 2 big Dash 10 lines, so we can run 1 to each valve cover. That is more than enough for most turbocharged engines, at least, of my size. You're getting the larger stuff, and we're not going to talk about that right now. And also, it's got 2 huge filters on it instead of the one little baby filter that I had on my other one. So that's taken care of. Now, the other thing I'm worried about is its ability to separate the oil or water or whatever may be coming through here so that it's not just blowing it out the vents. And this can actually has a baffle. It runs lengthways in it here, and it's just a V-shaped baffle that's actually welded into the can here. So what happens is, as the air with moisture or oil, whatever's coming in, it comes in the bottom. It goes up, it's separated by that V baffle. It kind of holds the oil down in the bottom of the catch can and lets the air escape out through the filters here, so you're not constantly blowing oil everywhere. So that's pretty much all there is to it. The other feature on this can is it actually has a drain, so you don't have to take it loose and flip it upside down or something like that to drain it. I do plan to put a different style of drain on here to make things a little easier, probably just like a little valve. But that's pretty much it, guys. Like I said, catch can's pretty simple, but there are a few things you want in it. You definitely want a baffle. You don't just want a big open canister. If you just had a big open canister inside, then what's going to happen is it's just going to blow the oil straight out the filters. You're going to have oil dripping out the filters. It's messy, it's not pretty, and that's really not what you want dripping down your firewall or wherever you happen to mount this. Before we move on to installation, I do want to do a little spiel for Max Speeding Rods here in case you haven't heard of them. Guys, Max Speeding Rods, they have a website. They also have an eBay and an Amazon store. But basically, they just sell aftermarket parts, really low budget parts, turbochargers. They're most commonly known for their forged connecting rods, which, by the way, I know some people don't believe it, but yes, they do actually use ARP 2000 rod bolts in their forged rods. They also have coilovers. That's something else they're named for, or they're known for, is their budget coilovers. So you can go ahead and head over to their site. Just check it out, guys. You might find something you want, turbocharger, whatever. And if you do find something you want, you can use code BLGDEAL, as in Bad Luck Garage Deal. But yeah, code BLGDEAL will get you 15% off everything on their website. And with multiple U.S. warehouses, they usually get their orders to you within 3 or 4 business days. I know I personally got this. This came from their warehouse in California, and the hose kit came from their warehouse in New Jersey. Well, I got the hose kit after 2 days, and then the very next day, the catch can came in. So yeah, guys, check them out. See if they got anything you need. They actually have factory replacement parts too, but I am done with that spiel. Let's get on to the install. So I want to go ahead and say the eventual plan is, after we do the tubular front end, we're going to be moving a lot of stuff up into the nose of the car. This will be one of those things. But for now, I've decided the best place for me to mount this guy is right up here by the firewall. That'll keep my lines nice and short. The only problem is the brackets. The brackets aren't here, and this is not a fault of Max Speeding Rods, but they have 4 flat brackets on the back of the can. I want to utilize at least 2, at least one back here and one up here. Well, if you were mounting this to a flat firewall, no problem, right? Just make you some holes, maybe use some riv nuts, and mount it straight to the firewall. We still have our heater in this car, so I couldn't do that. So as you can see, I've already started making brackets. Now guys, whenever you have to make brackets, I like to just go to, I'll go ahead and get the part number up here. I like to go to Lowe's or Home Depot or whatever and just get some of this flat aluminum stock. It's 1/8 inch by 1.5 inch, and you've seen me make brackets for a lot of stuff. As a matter of fact, that's what we made our brackets for our aluminum radiator out of. So stuff works good. All you need is, you know, some of this aluminum stock, a drill, a hammer, and you know, some various tools to bend it, and a Sharpie to mark it, and you're in business. So I'm going to go ahead and make some brackets for my application and get this guy mounted in here. As you can see, we got her mounted nice and solid. She's not going anywhere. And again, guys, I just made simple brackets, you know, just a strip of the aluminum with a bend there, drilled holes, nut and bolt. I went to Lowe's, got stainless hardware, and same thing up here. It's just a simple bend, guys, with stainless nuts and bolts holding it, and she's tight. She's not moving at all. So the next thing we need to do is we need to figure out how to attach our 2 -10 lines to our valve covers. And I actually found a really easy solution to that over here on the passenger side. So what we got here, and these were about $11 a piece. I'll post links in the video description along with everything else. Now these were not carried by Max Speeding, but I am going to speak to my rep and suggest that they do start carrying it. That and, you know, maybe some more LS specific items. So anyway, this is real simple, guys. All this is a you'll notice this pattern. It's just like your oil fill cap. So basically all you do with this is remove your oil fill cap just like that, and like I said, underneath they're the same. So you just take your oil cap to -10 AN adapter here, and you just screw it on. Just like that. Just like you would an oil cap, and boom, you have a -10 vent tube over here on this side. The issue comes on the other side because obviously we don't have a fill cap on the other side. And my first instinct was to just get another passenger side valve cover and put it over on the other side. As a matter of fact, I ordered 2 of these to do just that. But I was talking to my buddy Phil Bethauser, and you know, he told me, he's like, man, you know, I just drilled and tapped mine and screwed a 1/2 inch to -10 fitting in, like 1/2 inch MPT to -10, which is the same fittings that we used on our oil pan for our turbo drains, you know, something like that. So I was like, you know what, that's a good idea, and it will keep me from having to source another valve cover. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Currently, I have this line on the catch can going across the engine and going into the old, I mean, it says PCV line, but there's really no valve in it, I don't think. It's just a vent on the valve cover. But this line is currently going there, and this other line is going to our factory line that used to go from this valve cover to up here. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and take our old catch can off here and take our lines off. We're going to remove our valve cover on that side, and where the PCV used to go in, we're going to pull that nipple out of that valve cover, and we're going to drill it out and tap it for a 1/8 MPT fitting, screw our fitting in, put the valve cover back on, and we'll be ready to run our lines. You can't forget where this line used to attach to the nipple on the valve cover back here that you can't see. I need to remember to put a nice tight vacuum cap on that so it's not blowing oil residue out. On the other side, like I said, it doesn't matter because we're going to drill and tap that nipple. So old catch can setup is off. And guys, this setup, this was actually sent to us by our buddy Phil back when we first started this project. And he actually sent this to me before I even realized I needed to order a catch can. So we'll use this on something else. Matter of fact, we might just put it on the China Vet, or who knows, we may just use it on the Avalanche. There's 2. Set our coil packs over here out of the way. Mr. Valve covers off. We'll try the old Visum grips first. Look at old Visum grips. Get on there. Okay, yeah, she's coming loose just fine. Just sit here and work it back and forth. Can you guys see me? Yeah, you can see me. You know I'm not cheating. There we go. So just like that, and yeah, that's all it is, guys. It's just a restrictor. And here's the thing. See, I thought it was bad enough that we were just venting through a 3/8 line, but it's even worse than that because there's a restrictor in here. Like, this is straight through, you can see, but it's got like a tiny restrictor. So even though you've got a 3/8 hose on it, you're actually only breathing through that tiny hole right there. Definitely not enough venting, especially for a boosted engine. And I'm gonna have to remember that. And what I might do from now on, because I've never really looked at that, from now on when I run a catch can on my NA engines, I will probably end up drilling out that orifice so it's not restrictive. So here's what I'm doing, guys. We got our big Mac Daddy 11/16 drill bit here, and we've got our trusty old Harbor Freight NPT die set with our 1/2 inch NPT tap here. I've got some, yeah, here we go. We got 1/2 inch NPT to -10 fittings. This is just like what I use to run my drain lines on my oil pans. You know, we got blue, we got different colors here, so that's what we're doing. I'm just going to drill out this hole to 11/16. I'm going to tap it for a 1/2 inch NPT. We'll screw our 1/2 inch to -10 NPT fitting into it, and we'll be good to go. Throw our valve cover back on. So let me get that done, and we'll go to making our lines up. And there we have it. One valve cover drilled and tapped for 1/2 inch NPT. It should start pretty easy and get harder. Yep, there we go. So I just got to tighten this guy up, throw it back on, and we'll start running our lines. I do want to say the most important part of this entire process is you want to make sure you use carburetor cleaner, compressed air, whatever you got to use. Just make sure you get all the metal shavings out of this valve cover. If I feel like it's seeping or anything in the future, I'll take it off and just wrap a little Teflon on it or something like that. But I think we should be good. Let's go ahead and slam this back on. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have an issue. Not with the catch can itself. It's an application specific issue. So as you can see, my windshield wiper motor here is almost directly above where we just ran our adapter here. So it's not a big deal. It just means I'm not going to be able to finish running this line in this video. But what I'll do is I'll just order a 45. And again, this is just specific to my application. This might not affect you, but yeah, I can get one of these that's a 45-degree angle and push it off either that way or this way, or you know, just any way I need to clear that. So I've already looked. I looked through all my fittings here, and all I've got is straights. I don't have any 45s. I think I used the only 2 45s I had on our oil pan when we did the returns for the turbos. So like I said, no big deal. I'll order one of them up, but for now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and run this line, and I'll go ahead and run the line over to that side too. I just won't put the end on it on that side because I won't know exactly where it needs to go or how long it needs to be. But yeah, let's get this done and get this wrapped up. We already know we're going to want a 90 right here, just like that, and we're most likely going to want a 45. Actually, another 90 would be good there, but what I'll probably do is 45 off this. No, we're probably going to use use 2 45s on the other side. So we'll use 2 90s here. The kit came with 2 90s, so we'll run a 90 here. This is going to be a very short line on this one, and that's okay. Short lines are okay, guys. Yeah, so there we go. So we'll have a 90 coming off our tank, going over, and we'll hit into this 90. So our hose is only going to be, you know, about 10 or 12 inches long right there. And then for our other side, since we've got to go up and over the engine, but not at an extreme angle, I'm trying to screw this on. Go. So for our other side, we'll do a 45 like that, and that'll shoot us straight up and underneath the cowl area here behind the engine, and then we should be able to make either a straight, depending on the angle that we end up with this at. I'm going to order a 90-degree fitting and a 45. 1/2 inch to NPT to -10. and we'll just see which one will work better. And depending on how it runs out, we'll either be using one of the straight fittings or the other 45 to 10 there. So yeah, I think everything's going to work out between the hose kit and the catch can. I believe we got everything we need here. I'm about to show you guys a little trick. Now, I always joke, well, it's not a joke, I really do this. I usually just spit down in the end here and use my spit as lubrication. But since this is a video with a sponsored product, we'll use some actual lubrication. I keep this jar, you can tell this Vaseline's like 25 years old, but I kind of keep this out here in the garage for stuff like this. Or you can just use some oil from your oil can or whatever. The important thing is that, you know, you lubricate in here and you lubricate the threads on your fitting so they don't gall while you're doing this. Also, don't leave the tape on the fittings. I mean, I guess you can if you know it's not hurting anything, but it just looks really goofy. Alright. So the first thing we got to do is get our end on here. And this is where the little trick comes in. Alright guys, we're gonna get this on. You know, you might have to twist it while you're pushing it back and forth till you get it in there. Now here's the thing. People want, I don't know if you can really see, people want to try to push that hose in until it butts up all the way with the end of this fitting. That's not how you put together AN hoses, guys. And it doesn't matter so much on smaller ones. Sorry, I'm straining. I'm trying to push this guy in here. It doesn't matter so much on smaller hoses like dash 6s or not even so much on dash 8s. But you see how I've pushed it all the way up in there? So here's what happens. If you've got that all the way up in here, as you're screwing this hose in, or screwing your fitting in, this hose has to expand because it's, I mean, that's kind of how it works. This gets forced into the hose and the hose expands inside this fitting and everything seals. Well, if you've got it pushed all the way against it in there, the problem is you're going to get this in a few turns and all of a sudden you're not going to be able to turn it anymore. And I see people complain about this on the internet all the freaking time. You know, they'll say, oh, I can only get it halfway in and it won't turn anymore, and they'll strip this out and round it out and break fittings and everything else. That's because you've got it shoved too far up in there, guys. You just want a little bit of gap. You know, with a dash 6, let's see here. I'm trying to create my gap here. Alright. Again, I don't know if you can see, but I've got just a little bit of gap in there. You want that gap there to give the hose room to expand, okay? And the bigger fitting you're putting together, the larger you want that gap to be. Like, this is a dash 10. I usually don't start worrying about the gap till I get into a dash 8. Dash 4, dash 6, don't really worry about it. Dash 8, I start leaving a little gap. Dash 10, a little bit more gap. And, you know, by the time you get to something like a dash 16 or a dash 20, like you would run your, you would use to make like radiator hoses or, you know, possibly air-to-water intercooler hoses. By the time you get to that size, you're going to want a pretty substantial gap there, or there is no way you're going to get them screwed together. So, anyway, that's how you assemble AN fittings, AN hoses. I'm going to go ahead and get this all screwed together, and then we'll go over here and mark our hose where we need to cut it. One more thing. If you're worried about scratching your fittings, if you've watched this channel any length of time, you know I don't give a crap. I'm not about the looks, I'm just about the performance. But if you are one of those guys that's anal retentive and you're worried about scratching your fittings, what you can do is you can lay some tape inside your jaws here if you don't have an aluminum wrench, and you know that'll keep you from scratching fittings. Just some masking tape or some electrical tape or whatever. As for me, you can see I obviously don't care. As a matter of fact, I even like to misalign these just to drive people crazy when they look under my hood. So we got that fitting attached over here on this end. So what we're going to do now is kind of snug him up a little bit. And then we're going to come over here. And remember, guys, remember what I just said about not pushing this all the way up in here. We want to think about where we want to cut this. And we want it to be not quite up in this fitting. Right about here. You know, maybe a little over 1/4 of an inch on this side of the seam where our fitting goes together. Okay, so we're going to do, once we kind of visualize where we want that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to wrap some masking tape around the hose in that general area, in that general vicinity. Then that tape is going to give us a place to mark where we want to cut. So we're going to bring it in, and again, like I said, we're going to go about 1/4 inch or so below our joint there, our seam, and that's where we're going to mark this. So right about here. Now, if you've got a big pair of cable cutters, in my opinion, that is the best thing to cut this hose with. Huge pair of cable cutters. If you don't, the next best thing is a cutoff wheel, but it does make a mess, and you've got to be real careful making sure that you cut this straight. What I'm going to do is, I've got some smaller hose cutters, but I don't think they're going to cut this dash 10. At least they wouldn't cut the stainless braided dash 10 that we use for the drain lines, but it might cut through this since it doesn't have the stainless mesh on the outside. So I'll try that first back here somewhere in case it messes it up, and if it don't mess it up, then I'll cut on my line. If it does mess it up, then I'll come up here and cut my line with a cutoff tool. Okay, so I made my practice cut with my battery cable cutters here, and you can see it cut it nice and smooth. So now that I trust it, I'll go ahead and get right on this line, and we'll let her have it. Just make sure it's nice and straight. Woo, grip strength. Well, it worked. Got our nice clean cut there. Should be exactly the right length. So I'm going to peel my tape off and put my other fitting on here. And these fittings do swivel, so you don't have to worry about orientation. And here's your finished product. There you go. So we got the line going out here. We got this line going behind the engine underneath the cowl there, and it goes over. Like I said, I'm gonna have to order those fittings. So currently it's not hooked up, but I just want to make sure I get this video out. That fitting should be here in the next day or two, and it'll just be as simple as unscrewing the straight fitting, screwing the 45 or the 90, whichever we go with in, and then putting the last fitting on our hose there, and it'll be all hooked up. Hopefully we won't have any more issues with, like I said, I was seeing the oil vapor come out of that little filter on that smaller catch can, but I don't think we should have that issue with this guy right here. And I can still reach my drain. I can reach right under here, grab the drain. The only issue with mounting it here for me personally is it's going to inhibit my ability to get to the what we got here, number 8 and number 6 spark plugs on this side. But here's the trick, guys, with these up and forward headers, they're a piece of cake to reach from underneath. So I usually, you know, check the plugs, change the plugs, do all that from underneath the car anyway. I just drive it up on ramps, and boom, I can get to everything nice and easy. So that's it, guys. Hopefully this will work out good for us, and yeah, I kind of like it. Nice, neat installation there. Really straightforward. You can make this work on pretty much anything, guys. You just got to be willing to either find adapters like I did here, or drill and tap holes like I did on the other side. So again, if you want one of these catch cans and one of these hose kits, I will put links in the description of this video. I will also put a link to these guys here, which is an eBay part, in the description of the video, along with code BLGDEAL, which will get you 15% off at Max Speeding Rod's website. Now remember, guys, that code does not do anything on eBay, only at their website. So If you want to get the 15% off, make sure you go to the website, put in BLG deal, get your 15% off. Should get your parts in less than a week. Then get out in the garage, get something done, and I'll see you next time here on Bad Luck Garage.